Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are stripping away the noise. Usually we're looking at things like tech trends or deep history, complex sociology, all the stuff that explains the outside world.
External structures, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But today, I want to start with a feeling,
Yeah.
a very specific, very uncomfortable internal feeling that I think every single person listening has felt at some point.
Okay. I think I know the one you're talking about.
It's that moment when all the logic just stops working. You're completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a sudden medical diagnosis that just comes out of nowhere. Maybe your finances collapse. Or maybe it's just the sheer grinding complexity of modern life where you feel like you're drowning in details.
You hit a wall.
You hit a wall. And in that moment, your brain, it stops looking for a strategy and it starts looking for a crutch.
A handhold. Something to grab onto.
It's this instinctive, almost desperate search for something solid to lean on.
It's what I call the universal fracture point.
Yeah.
Because we walk around with this illusion of self-sufficiency.
Oh, absolutely. I've got this.
I've got this. I'm the CEO of my life. I control my destiny, all that stuff. And then the floor just drops out from under you.
It does.
And in that second, you suddenly realize how incredibly fundamentally fragile we actually are.
Exactly. And that fragility, it creates a kind of a market, if you will, for answers, for solace.
A demand for meaning.
Yes. And today we are diving into a book that addresses that exact fracture point. It's a huge phenomenon in the Middle East, a massive bestseller called Because You're God, A Journey to the Seventh Heaven.
The original Arabic title being Lianak Allah by Ali bin Jabbar al-Faifi.
Now, I have to be completely honest with you and with everyone listening. When I first saw that title, I thought, okay, here we go.
Right.
Here comes the dense, dusty, academic theological dissertation.
Which is a totally fair assumption given the subject matter.
It is, right. But this is, it's really different. The author, Al-Faifi, he explicitly states that he wrote this for the average person.
Not for the scholars in their ivory towers.
Not at all. He wrote it for the sad, for the sick, for the distracted, for the people stuck in traffic on a Tuesday morning feeling that sense of dread.
That's a key distinction.
His mission wasn't to write a scholarly paper. It was to take these profound, massive, cosmic concepts, specifically the names of God, and translate them into something that actually changes your blood pressure when you wake up in the morning.
That's it. That is the key distinction. It's theology applied directly to psychology. It's all about utility.
Utility, yes.
It asks the question, how does understanding a concept like the eternal refuge actually help you navigate a panic attack? How does it help you handle a rejection letter? That's what we're going to be looking at today.
So here is our mission for this deep dive. We aren't just going to be listing names and definitions. We are going to unpack 3 specific names that are discussed in the book. As-Samad, Al-Hafiz, and Al-Latif. We're going to look at the linguistics, the psychology, and the author's argument for why understanding these concepts are the antidote to that feeling of being completely overwhelmed.
And it's crucial to say, before we even get to the definitions, we have to talk about the setup, the way the author frames the entire book.
Yes.
Because he doesn't start with a rule book. He doesn't start with a sermon or a lecture. He starts with a confession.
It's a really vulnerable, really human childhood memory. And I think this is so important because it sets the stakes. He's not writing from a pulpit. He's writing from the floor, essentially.
That's a great way to put it. He recounts being a young boy. It's evening, the house is quiet, and his mother comes to him and asks him a very standard parental question.
The kind of question every kid gets.
Exactly. She says, have you prayed the Isha prayer, which is the night prayer, the final one of the day?
And like any kid who just wants to avoid a lecture or who's tired or just wants to get to bed without the hassle.
He lied. He looked her right in the eye and said yes.
We've all been there, those small lies we tell, just to preserve our comfort. Did you brush your teeth?
Yes.
Did you finish your homework?
Of course.
Exactly. But his mother's reaction wasn't what he expected at all. She didn't yell at him. She didn't go check to see if he was telling the truth. She didn't ground him.
What did she do?
She just looked at him with this heavy look of doubt, a mother's intuition. And she said something that changed everything for him. She said, say whatever you want, but he saw you.
Wow. He saw you.
Yeah.
That's chilling.
It froze him on the spot. He describes it in the book as being shaken to his absolute core. Because it wasn't a threat of punishment, not really.
No, it's something deeper.
It was an awareness of perception, the idea that there is a witness who bypasses his mother, bypasses his lies, and sees the raw, unedited truth of the situation. It's a direct line of sight.
And that awareness actually got him out of bed.
Immediately, he said he got up and prayed. Not because his mom forced him to, she had already walked away, but because that realization of a higher awareness just cut straight through his laziness and his lie.
So that's the real entry point for the whole book. That's it. This isn't about performing rituals to please your society or your parents. It's about a private internal relationship with a being who knows you better than you even know yourself.
Okay, so keeping that level of intimacy in mind, that this is all about an internal state, not just external rules. Let's move to the first major concept. The first name the author unpacks.
A samad.
A samad. It's a heavy word. Now, I've seen this translated in a lot of different ways. The eternal refuge, the absolute, the sustainer.
They all get at a piece of it, but none of them quite capture the whole picture.
Right, and the book does this linguistic deep dive that I found just fascinating because it completely changes the mental image.
Yeah.
It moves the concept from something abstract to something almost physical.
It does. And this is really why looking at the Arabic roots here matters so much. If you look at the linguistics that the author pulls from, as-samad implies two very specific, very physical characteristics.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, it refers to the solid. Imagine a rock versus, say, a sponge. As-samad is something that has no hollow inside, no cavity.
So completely full.
Completely full, indestructible, and lacking absolutely nothing. It is pure substance.
Okay, so let's contrast that with us, with human beings.
Yeah.
Because the author makes a really big deal about this contrast.
Well, we are, almost by definition, literally and metaphorically hollow. Think about it biologically for a second. We have stomachs that need filling constantly.
Right. We get hungry.
We have lungs that need to pull air in and push it out just to survive. Our blood vessels need flow. Our entire existence is defined by our empty spaces and our constant needs.
And that's just the physical side.
That's just the physical. Emotionally, it's even more obvious. We have these voids that need validation, that need love, that need success, that need approval. We are porous, we leak, we are needy. A samad is the absolute opposite of that. Total unbreakable solidity. No needs, no voids, no dependencies.
Is it self-sufficient?
Completely. And that leads directly to the second angle of the meaning. The second meaning is the destination. Because he is the only one who is truly solid and truly self-sufficient, he naturally becomes the ultimate destination for every single need in creation, the master whose control is absolute.
So it's a logical consequence. If you're the only one who isn't needy, then all the needy ones have to turn to you.
Exactly. So when you combine those two meanings, the solid and the destination, you get this powerful image of an indestructible bedrock that is the only place you can actually stand when everything else in your life is shaking.
The author brings up this paradox of strength here that I want to sort of challenge you on a bit because it sounds very absolute.
It is very absolute.
He says that if, as Samad, this indestructible refuge is protecting you, the entire world, all of its armies, all of its power, could try to harm you. And they wouldn't be able to even scratch you.
Mm-hmm.
But then he says the flip side is also true.
And the flip side is the terrifying part. It's the part we don't like to think about.
What is it?
If a samad does not will to help you, the entire world, all of its doctors, all of its wealth, all of its support systems, could try to lift you up. And they would utterly fail.
See, that's a heavy concept. That's difficult. It almost sounds like it renders all human effort meaningless, doesn't it? If I have the best doctors in the world, the best lawyers, the best security team, the author's basically saying that's all irrelevant.
I wouldn't say meaningless, but secondary. Or maybe a better word is dependent. The author is arguing that all other sources of power that we rely on, money, connections, status, technology, they are all essentially hollow.
They look solid.
They look like they can help. They look solid on the outside, but they aren't as-samad. They can be broken, money can run out, people can betray you, technology can fail.
Right.
He's saying that relying on them without relying on the ultimate source is like leaning on a cardboard cutout of a wall. It looked like a wall. It might even feel like a wall for a second, but if you lean your full weight on it, you're going to fall right through.
And he tries to prove this point by looking at something he calls involuntary faith. This section really reminded me of that old saying, there are no atheists in foxholes.
It's a modern application of that, yeah.
But he gets very specific about the psychology of it. He argues that this connection to our samad isn't something you learn in school. It's hardwired into our very being. It's an instinct.
He does. He moves away from theology for a moment, and he looks at pure reflex. Human reflex in a moment of crisis.
Like the farmer.
Take the farmer. The author describes a farmer who is just watching his crops wither and die. The technology is there, the fertilizer is in the soil, the hard work has been done. But the rain just stops.
Nothing he can do.
And the sky is just this clear blue, mocking expanse day after day. In that moment of utter helplessness, the farmer doesn't call his bank manager. He doesn't call the tractor company. Instinctively, what does he do? He looks up.
It's a reflex. It's totally involuntary, even if he hasn't prayed in 10 years.
Exactly. It's a deep, primal recognition of where the control actually lies. Or take the shipwreck example he uses.
The shipwreck is a classic trope, but paint the picture for us from the book's perspective.
Well, you have to imagine the passengers on this ship. These are people from all walks of life. You have different political beliefs, different social statuses, maybe different religions, or even no religion at all. They're all just people.
Living their normal lives.
Right. But then the waves crash over the deck, the ship starts to break apart, and the concept of death becomes immediate. It's not a theoretical idea anymore. It's right there in the cold water.
In that moment.
In that moment, the author argues, all the hollow things evaporate. You don't care about your stock portfolio. You don't care about your Twitter following. You don't care who won the last election.
All the things that seemed so important 5 minutes ago.
They vanish. And the only word left on the tongue, even for the most hardened skeptic, is the name of the creator. It's a stripping away of all illusions.
There was one more example that I found even more chilling. Because it's so quiet. It's not a chaotic shipwreck. It's a silent, sterile room. The patient.
Ah, the cardiac patient, yes.
Right. Tell us about that one.
So, imagine you're lying in a hospital bed. You are hooked up to the very best machinery that modern science can offer. You have a specialist, a top cardiologist, standing right there in the room with you.
You have all the supposed help you could want.
You do, but you're watching the monitor. And you see the line of your own heartbeat getting weaker, fading. The beep is slowing down.
That's an incredibly lonely moment.
It's the ultimate lonely moment. And in that quiet space, the patient knows deep down that the doctor isn't the one making that heartbeat. The doctor is just a very skilled mechanic working on the engine.
But the doctor isn't the fuel.
The doctor isn't the spark. And in that moment of fading, the patient turns internally to the sustainer of that heart. The analysis here is that the human soul knows as-samad. The mind might get distracted by the noise and the busyness of the world, but the soul always knows where the power source is.
This leads directly into a story in the text that acts as a kind of myth buster for how we view reliance. It's a dialogue between a Bedouin man named Hussein and the Prophet Muhammad. And it's just a masterclass in deconstructing what we value.
It really is. It's a Socratic dialogue, almost. It's so simple but so profound. The Prophet approaches this man, Hussein, and he asks him, how many gods do you worship?
And Hussein is completely honest. He's a polytheist. This is his belief system. He says 7 on earth and 1 in the heavens.
Which was the standard portfolio management strategy of that time.
Yeah.
You know, a diversified spiritual portfolio.
Right. You have an idol for rain, an idol for good harvest, an idol for war, an idol for safe travel. You cover your bases.
You're hedging your bets. And then you sort of acknowledge a supreme creator in the background, but the day-to-day stuff is handled by the specialists.
I'll keep a little investment in the earth gods just in case.
Exactly. But then the Prophet asks the follow-up question that just completely destroys the logic of that system. He asks, who do you count on for your hopes and fears?
Which is another way of saying,
when the chips are really down, when the panic sets in, when it's life or death, who do you actually call on?
And Hussein's answer is immediate.
He admits it, the one in the heavens. He knew. He knew that the stone idols on earth couldn't actually save him from a drought or a plague. They were hollow. They were just stone. They had no real power.
And that's the aha moment. The prophet tells him, very simply, leave the ones on earth and worship the one in the heavens.
It sounds so simple to us now, but you have to think about the psychological shift that requires. The text is arguing that we do a modern version of this today. We might not have stone statues in our living rooms, but we have our own gods on earth that we rely on.
Like what? Our careers.
Our careers, our bosses, our savings accounts, our social networks, our political affiliations. We split our reliance. We hedge our bets.
We think, I trust God, sure, but I really, really need to make sure my boss likes me or my whole life is ruined.
Exactly. But the concept of asama demands a singular focus. The book argues that if you know deep down that the one in the heavens is the only one who can actually help you in a real crisis, why are you exhausting yourself mentally and emotionally worshiping all the ones on earth?
That brings us to the metaphor of the compass. I think this is where the mental health aspect of this concept really comes into sharp focus. The author describes the human heart as being like a compass needle.
Right. And if you are chasing everything, approval from your boss, likes on Instagram, a certain number in your bank account, family expectations, your compass needle is just spinning wildly.
It's chaotic.
It's trying to point in 1,000 different directions at once because you've told it that all those things have ultimate power over your well-being.
It's dizzying. I mean, just the image of a compass spinning like a fan makes me feel anxious.
And that's a point. It is anxiety. But Ibn Taymiyyah, a famous scholar who is cited in the book, had this brilliant insight on the nature of freedom. He said that if you enslave your heart to as-samad, to God alone, you are actually achieving true freedom.
Which sounds completely contradictory on the surface. Slavery is freedom. That's a tough sell in the modern world.
It sounds Orwellian, I know. Until you unpack what he means you are freeing yourself from the slavery to everything else.
Ah, I see.
If you only have to please the one who controls everything, you don't have to live in fear of pleasing the thousands of people and systems that ultimately control nothing.
So you stop being a slave to your boss's mood swings.
Yes. You stop being a slave to the stock market's fluctuations. You stop being a slave to what your neighbors think of your car or your lawn. You answer to one, and that one is the solid source. It simplifies your entire life down to a single, stable focal point.
So the practical application here is, when the heart focuses solely on as-samad, that ambient anxiety starts to dissipate.
Because you're going straight to the source. You're not wasting your energy asking the middlemen for things they can't give you. You're asking the CEO directly.
It's a shift from begging the hollow things to fill you.
To simply connecting with the solid source that was there all along.
Okay, let's shift gears to the second name. Because if as-samad is about where we turn in a crisis, the ultimate destination, this next one is about why we are even alive to face that crisis in the first place.
Al-Hafiz.
The name is Al-Hafiz.
The preserver. The protector.
The guardian.
Now, usually when we talk about protection, we think of things we can see and touch. Shields, armor, security systems, passwords.
Concrete things.
Right. But the author starts this section with a very modern, very relatable analogy. He talks about the safety devices in our cars.
Yes. The anti-lock brakes, the airbags, the seat belts, the collision warnings. We put a tremendous amount of faith in these engineering marvels, don't we?
We do. We get inside a metal box that's moving at 70 miles per hour, surrounded by other metal boxes, and we feel pretty safe.
We feel safe. But the author pushes us to look behind the curtain. He argues that Al-Hafiz is the ultimate safety net behind all of those devices.
What does that mean? It means the airbag is just a collection of fabric and gas sensors and chemical reactions. It doesn't have a will of its own. It only works if Al-Hafiz allows the laws of physics to function correctly in that exact millisecond of impact. The device is a means, not the source of safety.
But then he goes even deeper, literally into our own biology. He uses this phrase I found so profound. Preservation between parentheses. What does he mean by that?
This is one of the most perspective-shifting parts of the entire book for me. He's talking about the gaps, the pauses.
The spaces between things.
The idea is that life isn't a continuous, solid line of existence. It's a series of moments stitched together. And between every single breath you take, there is a gap, a pause, a parenthesis where life could just end.
We just assume the next breath is coming. It's the most taken for granted thing in the world.
We completely take it for granted. But Al-Hafiz is the force that bridges that gap. He is the one who keeps the heart beating between one beat and the next, who keeps the kidneys filtering, who keeps the neural signals firing across synapses.
He asked the listener to consider the simple act of blinking.
Right. Who keeps your eyelids blinking? We do it, 15 to 20 times a minute without thinking?
Thousands and thousands of times a day.
If that simple automatic preservation stopped, your eyes would dry out, they'd ulcerate, and you'd go blind in a very short amount of time. Who keeps your tongue from paralyzing so you don't choke on your own saliva while you sleep?
It's a continuous, active, moment-to-moment preservation.
It is. We aren't like wind-up toys that were set in motion at birth and just left to run down. The author's point is that we are being actively sustained in every single millisecond. If Al-Hafiz, metaphorically speaking, were to look away for an instant, our existence would simply cease.
To illustrate this idea of protection and to show that it's not just about being careful, the book contrasts two incredible stories about bullets. And this is where we see that protection isn't about armor. It's about destiny.
This is the tale of two bullets. It's a perfect case study in probability versus divine will.
So start with the first story. This is the assassination attempt on the scholar, Sheikh Eid al-Qarni.
Right. This happened in the Philippines. The sheikh was approached by an assassin. And we're not talking about a sniper from a rooftop a mile away. We're talking close range, about a meter away.
That's point blank.
Essentially point blank. The assassin fired 6 bullets. 6. At that range, statistically speaking, you are dead. The spread is negligible. It is almost impossible to miss a human torso at 1 meter 6 times.
But he survived.
He survived. The bullets hit him, but they didn't hit anything vital enough to end his life. They passed through non-lethal tissue. The author uses this to argue that the physical laws of ballistics were, in a sense, overruled, or rather navigated, by the will of the preserver.
So the bullets followed a path of preservation.
Exactly. Al-Hafiz had not decreed his end, so the bullets simply could not kill him. The proximity, the number of shots, none of it mattered.
And then the stark contrast. Most protected man on earth at the time.
John F. Kennedy. I mean, think about the security apparatus around a U.S. president. He is in a specially designed, bullet-resistant car. He is surrounded by the Secret Service, literally the most elite, highly trained bodyguards on the planet. He has every physical protection that money and power can possibly buy.
He should be untouchable.
And yet, a single bullet from a vast distance, from a high angle, a difficult shot, and it finds him.
It really drives the point home, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can have 6 bullets from a meter away fail to kill you, and 1 bullet from a huge distance end your life.
It synthesizes the concept perfectly. Protection is not about walls, it's not about guards, it's not about armored cars. Those are just tools. True safety is the will of Al-Hafiz.
So when he lifts his protection,
the armor becomes paper.
And when he maintains it,
the paper becomes steel.
Speaking of protection in seemingly impossible situations, there's another story in the book that's set in the Tabuk Desert. It felt like something out of a survival thriller.
The story of the flask? Oh, this one is visceral. You can feel the heat coming off the page. The setting is the Tabuk region of Saudi Arabia. Just cracked, scorching earth. It's one of the most unforgiving landscapes on the planet.
And a group of friends get lost.
4 friends are traveling, and they get lost. In that environment, getting lost isn't a minor inconvenience, it's a death sentence.
And they ran out of water.
They ran out of water. The author describes their despair so vividly. Their throats are parched, their lips are cracked, they are literally crawling on burning rocks. They reached that point of certain death.
The body just starts shutting down.
It does. Hallucinations start. You start thinking about your family. They are writing their mental wills.
So what did they do? What could they do?
One of the men prayed, but the author stresses that he didn't just ask in a casual way. He connected, sincerely and desperately, to Al-Hafiz. He acknowledged that there was no water for miles and that no human being could possibly save them. It was a moment of pure submission.
And then what happened?
And then suddenly, in the middle of this desolate wasteland, they found a flask.
Just sitting there, on a rock.
A flask, not a mirage, filled with cold, clean water in the middle of nowhere. No tracks, no people around, just the provision.
That's incredible.
And the insight here is that Al-Hafiz isn't limited by our understanding of geography or logistics. The desert is empty to us, but for Al-Hafiz, it is full of means. He can place a flask of water in a desert just as easily as one to fruit. He can place rain in a cloud. It challenges our very rigid reliance on cause and effect, we think. No river equals no water, he says. I provide the water, with or without the river.
There's another story about protection that has this massive, almost mind-bending twist. It's the story of the thief and the baby. This one really shows how God can use anything to protect you, even your enemies.
This is a deeply paradoxical story. A thief breaks into a house at night. His intention is purely malicious. He wants to steal. He's a criminal. He enters a room and he finds a baby sleeping in a crib.
Okay, that's every parent's worst nightmare right there.
Right.
An intruder in the house with a child.
It is. Terrifying. Now, the thief moves the baby to a different room. The text suggests maybe he did it to silence the baby if it woke up, or maybe just to search the room more freely without tripping over a crib. We don't know his exact motive, but his action was entirely self-serving. He moves the child.
And then what?
Moments later, the roof of the room where the baby was originally sleeping collapses.
Oh. So, wow.
If the thief hadn't broken in, if he hadn't moved the baby for his own selfish reasons, the baby would have been crushed. The thief, intending to commit a crime, became the very instrument of God's protection.
That's really complicated to process.
It is. It forces you to completely rethink what bad events really are. A break-in is a bad event. It's a trauma. But in this specific, bizarre matrix of events, it was the delivery system for salvation.
It shows that Al-Hafiz can draft anyone into his service.
He can use a sinner to save a saint. He can use a disaster to prevent a catastrophe. The means are beyond our comprehension.
That moves us nicely into the next point, because protection isn't just about bodies and roofs and bullets. The author talks about a different kind of safety that's arguably even more important, preserving the self, your identity, your faith.
This is the spiritual safety mechanism, and it's so important. The text mentions a scholar from the past named Al-Qasimi. This man was an intellectual heavyweight. He wrote books defending Islam. He knew all the arguments. He knew the logic inside and out.
So he had all the data, all the information.
He had it all. But later in his life, he drifted into doubt, and eventually he left the faith entirely.
So his intellect couldn't save his heart.
Exactly. And this serves as a powerful warning in the book. The lesson the author draws is that we are constantly praying for our physical safety. Please don't let me get hit by a car. Please protect me from cancer. But we often forget to pray for the preservation of our heart.
Because the heart is so volatile.
The word for heart in Arabic, qalb, actually comes from the root word that means to turn or to flip. It flips constantly. Your emotions change by the minute. Your convictions can change over years.
It's unstable by nature.
By its very nature.
Yeah.
The Prophet Muhammad himself used to frequently pray, "O turner of hearts, make my heart firm upon your religion." He, the Prophet, understood that you can't just rely on your own intellect or your own willpower to stay on track. You need Al-Hafiz to keep your moral compass steady, just as much as you need him to keep your biological heart beating.
Before we leave this section on Al-Hafiz, we have to touch on nature. The book gives these quick, beautiful examples of instinctive preservation in animals. This is like biomimicry before it was a buzzword.
Yes, nature's defenses. It's a beautiful section. The author points out the gazelle. How does a newborn gazelle know how to outrun a lion? Who taught it the physics of evasion, the zigzagging patterns?
Not learning that from a textbook.
Or the electric eel who gave it a biological battery pack to shock its predators. The chameleon changing its colors to literally vanish into the background.
It's all pre-programmed.
It is instinctive preservation, hard-coded directly into the DNA. It's Al-Hafiz programmed directly into the biology of the creature. It shows that protection isn't an afterthought or an intervention. It's part of the fundamental design of creation.
And the ultimate example of nature and protection combined in the book, the story of Jonah, or Yunus, and the whale.
This is the pinnacle of the protection in darkness theme. The author describes the three darknesses that Jonah faced, one layered on top of the other.
What were they?
First, the darkness of the night. Second, the darkness of the deep sea. And third, the darkness of the whale's belly. Can you imagine the sheer claustrophobia, the hopelessness of that?
It's described as a preservation in a grave. He is alive, but he's buried. In the belly of a beast, at the bottom of the ocean, in the middle of the night.
Most people would panic and die of shock, or suffocate, or just give up.
But what did he do?
He admits his vulnerability. He calls out, "There is no God but you. I have been of the wrongdoers." That raw admission, that turning back, invoked the name of Al-Hafiz. And the result was a miracle.
The whale didn't digest him.
It didn't digest him. It didn't chew him. The whale became a submarine. It became a vehicle of safety. It turned a tomb into a transport vessel. The story shows that no matter how deep you are buried, literally or metaphorically, Al-Hafiz can sustain you there.
That is a beautiful transition to our third and final name for this deep dive. We've had the indestructible refuge, As-Samad. We've had the ultimate preserver, Al-Hafiz. Now we have Al-Latif.
Al-Latif, such a gentle name.
This is often translated as the subtle or the gentle, but the Arabic implies something very, very specific. The text defines it as kindness that is delivered so gently and so secretly that you don't even realize it's happening until the outcome has already arrived.
It's the stealth kindness. It operates on what the book calls a double action principle.
Okay, break that down.
1, he brings benefit to you through hidden paths. You don't see the delivery truck coming. The gift just appears on your doorstep. And 2, he protects you from harm in ways you never even see. You don't even know you were in danger.
The book uses a medical metaphor here that I thought that was just brilliant. It asks, Do you feel your body healing a wound?
Right. I mean, think about the incredible complexity of the immune system. When you get a simple paper cut, do you feel the white blood cells rushing to the site? Do you hear the microscopic battles as they destroy bacteria? Do you feel the tissue knitting itself back together cell by cell?
No, not at all. It happens. You just see the result a few days later.
It happens in total silence. It happens without your conscious participation. That is lut. That is subtlety. If healing were painful and loud, if you felt every cell dividing, every single battle between a white blood cell and a virus, we'd be miserable. We'd be in constant agony. But Al-Latif makes the most complex biological processes silent and gentle. He hides the machinery from us.
And then there's the story of Joseph, or Yusuf. The author frames his release from prison as an absolute masterclass in this kind of subtlety. And this is really about the butterfly effect.
It is perfectly constructed chaos theory in action. Think about the situation. Joseph is in prison, unjustly. He needs to get out. Now, God is all-powerful. He could have sent a massive earthquake to shatter the prison walls. He could have sent an angel to rip the iron bars off their hinges. That would be a manifestation of the strong or the mighty.
But that's not how it happened. That would have been too loud, too obvious.
Exactly. It would lack subtlety. Instead, how does Joseph get out of prison? A dream.
A dream, not even a physical event.
A non-physical mental event in the mind of a king hundreds of miles away. God sent a confusing, troubling dream to the king while he slept. That dream bothered the king, just a nagging thought, which led him to ask his courtiers for an interpretation.
Which they couldn't provide.
No. Which led the cupbearer, who had been in prison with Joseph, to suddenly remember him, even though he'd forgotten him for years. Which led to Joseph being called from the dungeon.
It was a chain reaction of whispers.
Exactly. Not explosions. Whispers. That is Al-Latif. Changing the course of history through a fleeting thought in a sleeping man's mind. It teaches us that the solution to our biggest problems might begin with something microscopic that we can't even see yet. A chance meeting, a misremembered name, a lost email, a dream.
This concept really helps in reframing what we consider to be bad luck. I think this is the part of the book that offers the most comfort for modern disappointments. We've all been rejected. We've all failed at something we wanted.
Absolutely. This is what the book calls the prevention as protection concept. Let's say you desperately want a particular job, you do the interviews, you pray for it, you prep for weeks, and you don't get it. You're crushed.
And your first thought is, why didn't God help me? I asked him. I did all the work. We take it as a rejection. We see it as an absence of help.
But understanding the name Al-Latif suggests this might actually be a hidden kindness. Perhaps that job would have led you to a corrupt corporate environment that would have ruined your reputation. Perhaps the money from that job would have made you arrogant and destroyed your family relationships.
Perhaps the stress would have caused a heart attack in 5 years.
Precisely. So by blocking what you perceived as a good thing.
He was being Latif. He was being subtly kind. He was saving you from a worse fate that you couldn't possibly foresee because your vision is limited to the present moment. You see the shiny object. He sees the trap that's hidden inside it.
The text has that powerful line. If he wants to protect you from sin, he might make the path to it difficult.
And we just see the difficulty.
We see the roadblock as a hassle. We get angry at the traffic jam. We get frustrated at the failed Wi-Fi connection when we're trying to do something we shouldn't. Al-Latif places the roadblock as a mercy. It changes your reaction from anger and frustration to curiosity, or at least to trust.
You start to think, what am I being saved from right now?
Instead of, what am I being denied? It completely shifts the entire paradigm of what failure even means.
So bring this all together. We've been on quite a journey with these three names. We've looked at solidity, at preservation, and at subtlety. How do we synthesize this? How do these three fit together in a practical user interface for life?
I think of it as a complete ecosystem for the human soul. As Samad gives you stability, it gives you a singular, unshakable focus point so you aren't spinning out of control. You have a solid wall to lean on when you feel weak and hollow. It answers the fundamental question, who do I turn to?
Right, that's your anchor.
That's your anchor. Then Al-Hafiz allows you to walk through the world without paralyzing fear. You know you are preserved and protected until your appointed time, so you can be brave. You don't have to live in a bunker, afraid of every shadow. It answers the question, am I safe?
Okay, anchor and shield. And the third?
And Al-Latif allows you to trust the process. It allows you to accept the mysteries and the uncertainties of life, knowing that even the invisible or seemingly negative events are guided by a subtle, hidden kindness. It answers the question, why is this happening?
Stability, safety, and trust. It really does return to the book's subtitle, doesn't it? A Journey to the Seventh Heaven.
It does. Because the author's core message is that knowing these names isn't just an academic exercise. It's not for a theology test. It changes how you walk through a dark parking lot at night. It changes how you handle a cancer diagnosis from a doctor. It changes how you look at the stars or even a simple glass of water.
It changed your perception of reality.
It turns the mundane world into a place that is filled with signs of a personal, caring, moment-by-moment interaction. It turns the universe from a cold, random, chaotic place into a designed, protected home.
I want to leave our listeners with a final provocative thought from the end of the section on As-Samad. The author states, if you are looking for something and find it, dwell on it.
It's a call to mindfulness, really, to stop rushing, to actually absorb what you found.
So here is the question for you listening right now, wherever you are. If God is As-Samad, the eternal, solid, indestructible refuge, and you are constantly feeling empty, anxious, or hollow, is it because your internal compass is pointing at a hollow target?
That's the hard, uncomfortable question, isn't it? Are you asking your job to be your ultimate refuge? Are you asking your spouse or your bank account or your political party to be As-Samad for you? Because they can't bear that weight. They are hollow too. They will eventually crack under that pressure.
Only the solid source can hold you.
Check your compass, see where it's really pointing.
A perfect place to leave it.
That's it for this deep dive into myths. Because you are God, we hope this gave you something solid to hold on to today. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.